Hello, it's me. I'm in California. All right, what's going on, everybody? It is I, your host, Michael Garza 43. Trifecta. All right. We're going to react to a few videos like Fox News and stuff like that. Let's see here. Give me a second.
Welcome back to Beijing. The summit begins in earnest here this morning, lifting the curtain on our setup.
Oh, we got random player coming in. And we got Annie coming in. Good morning, random player. Good morning, Annie. It's good to see you. Hope you guys are doing well. We're going to react to a little Trump daddy. And, of course, Trump is, as usual, in my opinion, he's winning. He's kicking butt, basically. That's what he's doing. Give me a moment. Give me just a moment, you guys. Sorry. Yeah, it's taking a little bit of time. Sorry about that, everybody. Oh, yeah. If you think I'm sexy, just come touch. Come on, sugar, let me know. E.T. is saying, come to me, Garza. No, thank you, E.T. I'm not touching you, dude. Hell no. Hell no. Okay, almost there.
I've been working for several months to try to get a one-on-one interview with President Xi Jinping. Chinese officials told us yesterday, because of the tight timeline of this summit, specifically, the logistics would not work. But with both sides looking for insights.
Oh, they're lying. They're lying, dude. You don't just turn down Brett Baer, dude. Brett Baer's tight, dude. This guy's tight, dude. You know, I'm still not a big fan of Fox News, but honestly, if I'm gonna have to listen to propaganda, I'd rather listen to Fox News, to be quite honest.
Into one another, we jumped at the chance to talk with someone who's been on the inside of China's decision making and knows what the CCP is thinking about this week. Joe Bo is a former senior colonel in the People's Liberation Army. He's now a senior fellow at the Center for International Security and Strategy at the Tsinghua University. He's also the author of the book, Should the World Fear China? What does success look like for China in this summit?
I think the fact that Donald Trump is visiting China is already a success, for the Chinese people. I believe things have changed somewhat because this would be a kind of proof to what the Chinese people have already, start to believe that China is, equal to the United States. And now, of course, it doesn't.
I don't think China is equal to the United States. They're not. I think that, and this is my opinion, this is my theory, I think China's cooking their books. I do. I don't think China is as strong as they're leading the world on to believe. Here's the thing about communist countries, and this is one thing you got to consider. The people of China, low key, because they don't want to let their grievances be known. But low key, they do not like their government. Nobody who lives in a communist society actually likes their government. They know that communism sucks. The only people who seem to like the only people who seem to like communism are, unfortunately, college-educated liberals, which is insane. You think if you were college-educated, you think that you would read the work of Marx and you would read about communism and be disgusted at how ineffective those systems actually are, including socialism on a grander scale. You would think that these people would be disgusted, but they're not. I don't know. Who am I to say? But what do you guys think?
Does not mean that this is a kind of peer competitors, but we can also be on equal footing for a lot of corporations around the world, right? You see, during Trump's first term, he did not talk much about cooperation between China and U.S. But now, even after his first term, from Biden's term to his second term, you have more and more requests coming from the United States asking China to cooperate here and there.
How much do you think that the Iran war has factored into this summit, and how does China view it?
This war has not ended, right? What we're seeing right now in the Strait of Hormuz is a very strange, almost ridiculous situation in that the two countries are having kind of a double blockade over the strait, right? So I believe this will be discussed. And I personally believe China would hope that these two countries could make an announcement, for example, to simultaneously reopen the Strait of Hormuz.
Because there's a large...
Dude, if China and U.S. align to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, okay, cool. Totally fine with that, as long as China actually works with us on it. You know what I mean? That's the key, man. Can they work with us? I don't think they can. All right, let's keep going.
Percentage of oil for China that goes through the strait.
Yes, for Iranians, this is more important because it's from 80 to 90%. For us, it's about 13%. This kind of a damage is obvious for China. It is bearable, but it is still kind of a damage in a war that, has nothing to do with China. So therefore, it is also in our interest to see an early ending of this war.
It's bearable because you have a large strategic reserve.
And also we have diversified a long time ago, into some other energies like green energy, so on and so forth.
But China, it sounds like, from you and others, is wanting to be an interlocutor to try to get to a finish line.
Of course, yeah. I think, the fact is that the Iranian foreign minister came to visit China a week before Trump's visit is the most significant, because Pakistan has been playing a role, right? But I believe Pakistan's role is more or less like providing a venue, for this kind of a problem. But now we're seeing a very interesting question, because everybody is asking, okay, what can China do to make this world less dangerous, if not better? And probably we might see something coming out of this summit, because this summit is different in that, the leader of the most strong nation on earth probably will ask Chinese leader for help. And China, of course, stands ready for help, but in its own way.
In the U.S., the issue of Taiwan seems to be a...
So here's how I'm interpreting that. This is how I'm interpreting it, okay? Trump is in a pretty tough position on this one with Taiwan. Ultimately, you don't want China to take over Taiwan. In my opinion, you don't really want that. I think it's a bad idea, dude. Bad call. You do not want China to take over Taiwan. I just think that would be the worst idea in the world, dude. Worst idea in the world. I think so, okay? I know so. Give me just a moment, you guys. Hold on. This may take a few seconds. But yeah, no, I think, but no, I do believe what Trump is doing is fabulous. I think he's one of the best presidents we've ever had, and I think most people are at least aware of this to some degree. I'd hope, but it's neither here nor there, man. Neither here nor there, bro. Let's keep going. Let's do it.
A big concern. Do you think that's going to come up in this summit and be a dominant factor here?
Yeah, definitely it will come up, because this is a vital interest for China. I'm sure China will mention it. The only question is how the United States might respond, because if it talks about one China, that is not something new. If it talks about, if it talks about opposing Taiwan's independence, that is something new, because it talked about not supporting Taiwan's independence, but from not supporting to opposing. This might be an interesting step forward.
And so is there optimism that President Trump is going to go there?
I believe this would be the good wish of the Chinese people, right?
Here's the thing, man. I don't think China should take over Taiwan. I think that's setting a bad precedent.
Yum, yum.
I think it's setting a very bad
yum.
precedent. Oh, Annie's sending gold coins. Thank you so much, Annie, for the gifts. Appreciate it. Gift yum yum. Gift yum yum. Now, I'm already praising Trump, but I'm gonna praise and even potentially glaze Trump even more, because I love Trump. I think he's great. I think he's a fabulous president, and to those who don't agree, that's okay. Thank you, Annie, for the gold coins. Mucho apreciado.
don't believe he will say something like we would support your peaceful reunification, something that is further down the road. But at least he could make a step forward. And I personally would watch how could he explain the Americans' arms sales to the Taiwanese. I know how the military industrial complex in the United States want to sell more, but the point is at what cost? Yeah, what the Taiwanese really wants to buy is actually kind of insurance. But the question is, would the United States be willing to fill in the blank check with American blood?
How close is China to acting on Taiwan? How close is China to maybe invading Taiwan?
I believe we are still having patience and confidence. Yeah, because we still talk about peaceful reunification. And I believe the U.S. also has a role because the United States, at least in theory, still talks about one China. So it should not be a problem for the United States to urge Taiwanese authority to talk to China on the...
So here's the thing. No, I love what Trump is doing. Like, I seriously love everything that Trump's doing here in China. Like, I legitimately do. I am a little bit concerned about, I'm actually not just a little bit, I'm very concerned about Taiwan because we do not want China to have even remotely, there's even a remote possibility of taking over China. I think that'd just be bad for the world. I think that would give China too much of a foothold in the world. Look, China's a communist country. We do not want China, who is a communist country, by the way, to become a superpower. Now, granted, they may be a superpower for now, but it's not going to last. At least, hopefully not. Because communism itself only has a very short lifespan. So when you... Well, it'll always live in the infamy of long-necked college kids, but communism itself has a long, bloody history. It's one of the worst ideas ever. And here's the thing: China will always ally with scumbags. Iran. They ally with Iran. They've allied with Russia. They've allied with... Can't remember who else, but Russia and Iran are one of the people they've allied with. And those countries are not good countries, by the way. I'm not a fan of America allying with Saudi Arabia to some degree. I don't like that. That's not cool, dude. Not cool. Hell no. But let's keep going. Let's do it.
The principle of one China.
Do you think that the tension is rising or subsiding between the U.S. and China?
I don't know. I feel like the tensions are going to be... I think that there's not as much tension as we think, but I think somewhere down the line, eventually, there's going to be some tension, and it's not going to be pretty. It's going to be a little scary.
That's a good fundamental question. I believe, among all these kind of allegations, argument whatsoever, 21st century actually is easier for us to live in than during the 20th century, because that was characterized by a kind of ideological rivalry. Yeah. In 21st century, we are competing, even in your term, we are competing within the same international system. Yeah, we are not your enemy, and we are best described by you as a competitor. So competitors...
Yeah, here's the thing. We don't want to compete with China. We don't want China to even be anywhere close to our ability. So honestly, I do. And the reason I say that is actually I like the Chinese people, believe it or not. I don't like what I despise is the Chinese government. I despise communism because communism leads to what's called authoritarianism, because most communists have what's called an authoritarian mindset, right? If you were to put a bunch of leftists in a room and put a bunch of righties in a room, do you know what they would do? Do you know what would happen? the left would continue to bitch and moan about everything, probably try to tell the right what to do, try to tell everybody what to do. And what would happen is, everybody would get pissed at each other, especially the people on the right, because they're like, I don't want to get told to do by this incompetent boob. And what happens overall is these leftist Karens, because they have such an authoritative mindset, just ruin everything for everybody, because all they could do is tell people what to do, but they could barely run their own lives, you know?
So could live within the same system. And I believe because the world is facing so many changes, not only climate change, but also...
Hey, Annie, I do want to thank you, by the way, for all those gold coins. Big time. Everybody give a shout out to Annie for the gold coins. We always appreciate it, Annie. It does help the channel grow in more ways than one, as I always say. And no, I do appreciate any assistance we can get, whether you want to become a channel member. We do want to encourage people to become channel members, though, if you can. The reason we encourage you to become a channel member is simple. One, we have a lot of subscribers. Two, we're making more exclusive content than we did before. That's a big part of it. You know, the fact that we're making a lot more exclusive content's a big deal, and I'm very happy about that. We're going to continue to make as many pieces of exclusive content as possible. But no, I appreciate you, Annie. Thank you so much. Heart hands. I appreciate you, Annie. Annie's a baller, dude. Annie is a baller. Shakala. Oh. But no, mucho apreciado, man.
So like agentic AI, right? So it is really in our own interest for our two countries to take the lead. I don't mean G2, but for us to take the lead, to make this world livable at least.
Thank you so much for
Thank
your
you.
time.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Be sure to...
Yeah, I don't know, bro. I don't know, bro. Let's see what other news we got. Oh, U.S. China tensions collide over chips, oil, and Iran.
Now we go. Secretary of State Marco Rubio warning that China remains one of the biggest challenges facing our country, but stresses the importance of avoiding conflict. Listen.
It's both our top political challenge geopolitically, and it's also the most important relationship for us to manage. I mean, it's a big, powerful country. It's going to continue to grow, but we're going to have interests of ours.
I personally think that China's on the decline. I don't think China's as powerful as they're making themselves out to be. And the youth, the young people in China can't stand the Chinese Communist government. Even the youth of China is just like giving the middle finger, essentially. And they hate their lives. Most people do in a communist Chinese country. Well, I should say any communist country. But yeah, communism's evil, man. Communism is straight up evil, in my opinion. And it's one of the worst ideologies that mankind has ever come up with. Collectivism does not work on a massive scale. It turns to authoritarianism because most collectivists are authoritarian in nature. I think most people can realize that. I hope that they could realize that, but it's just sad they can't. So
That are going to be in conflict with interests of theirs, and to avoid wars and maintain peace and stability in the world, we're going to have to manage those.
Joining me now, Vice President of Government Accountability Institute, Eric Eggers. And Eric, from what we have seen and heard so far, from the limited reporting, the readouts coming from the bilat so far, are we heeding Marco Rubio's words?
Well, I think the fact that Marco Rubio stated on the global stage that the United States, as official policy, is aware that China desires to be the largest and most powerful geopolitical force in the world is a significant step towards saying, listen, we know what you're trying to do. Todd, you just raised the point. Would China try to steal the technology from Jensen Huang's NVIDIA chips? I think being aware that they want to do that is such a stark departure from what the policy and and mentality was under Joe Biden. So China being aware that we know what they want to do, and we're here to try to stop them from doing that while still being a good partner in global commerce, I think is a significant step towards cooperation and prosperity for all.
And it's not just NVIDIA. We got a lot of tech CEOs there during these bilats. And, of course, intellectual property and China's stealing of it, a major concern. Here's more from Marco Rubio on that. Listen.
A lot of the advancements, not all, but a lot of the advancements you've seen in the commercial sector, in the industrial sector, in the technological sector in China is a product of intellectual property theft and or reverse engineering.
Oh yeah, exactly. You see, the thing about China, and this is one of their this is what's going to be ultimately China's downfall, is they don't have the ability to innovate anything. The only thing they have the ability to do is steal intellectual property, to reverse engineer pieces of technology. They don't have. This is the problem with collectivist countries. Collectivist countries have to mooch off of countries that are individualist, like the U.S. Because only in an individualist country can you have the swagger to create technologies, to create and innovate technologies. In the U.S., the reason that we are one of the most innovative countries is because, one, we do not have a social contract. There is no social contract by all technicality in the U.S. You are free to hate your fellow man or love them. It's up to you. That's what freedom's all about. And the reason that America is so successful is because of our lack of social contract. I find that in countries that have a social contract, collectivist countries especially have a social contract, you actually find that country's not innovative. That the people are miserable. The people hate their own leadership. They can't say that they hate their leadership because they'll get executed. But, yeah. Persian version, what are you talking about, dude? You know, one of the reasons why the U.S. is so successful is because of our lack of social contracts. Also, we believe that every man, woman, and woman is sovereign in their own right, that they cannot be ruled by anybody. No one. And that the only person who can rule them is themselves. We're an individualist country. That is why we're superior to every country, because we praise individualism and we are not collectivist. We do have some social programs, granted, but we are not a communist country, and thank goodness for that. Thank goodness for that, because if we were a communist country, we would be cooked, in my opinion. And not just my opinion. I mean, it's just fact. The fact that we're an individualist country is a big deal, and it matters quite a bit. It means that that's one of the main reasons we're successful. One, we have no social contract, which is awesome, by the way. Here's the thing. You should never be told that you have to care about your fellow man or woman. If you do care, great. If you don't, great. I don't really care what you care about. All that matters is what are your capabilities personally. I'm glad that we don't have a social contract here in America. We don't. I've had arguments about this. We don't have a social contract here in America. Other S-hole countries have social contracts. We don't. And thank goodness for that. Because we would be a crappy country like all the others. But no, I will say that China, on paper, and I'm going to say this, China appears to be strong, but in all actuality, China's good at lying to the world about their current status. So I don't trust China. I really don't. I think that they're a paper tiger. I do. Granted, I love the Chinese people. I think they're good people, but the problem is their government's too authoritarian, too communist. Why would you play devil's advocate on this one? Singapore is not a successful country. Hold on, let's use ChatGPT on that. I feel like I'm hearing some propaganda here. Is Singapore a successful country with an authoritarian regime? We'll see what ChatGPT says. I'm curious. I don't know much about Singapore, to be honest, so. Tiny Lion Gaming, what up, brony bro? Saying likey to stream. Now friends. I appreciate you, bro. We love Tiny Lion Gaming on this channel. Tiny Lion Gaming is our brony bro. Our brony in chief. Okay, so it says, yes, Singapore is extremely successful economy, but calling it a pure authoritarian regime is a little too blunt. A more accurate label is a highly controlled, dominant party, semi-democratic state, sometimes called soft authoritarian, illiberal democrat, or competitive authoritarian light. Singapore has elections, opposition parties, courts, and a parliamentary system, but the ruling People's Action Party has dominated politics for decades. In the 2025 election, the PAP won 87 of 97 seats, extending its long rule. Freedom House rates Singapore Party free with a score of 48 out of 100, citing limits on political rights and civil liberties. Reporters Without Borders. But on success, absolutely, Singapore is one of the richest and best-run countries in the world by many measures. World Bank. But how long have they been authoritarian for? Because you can only be authoritarian for so long until it all crumbles underneath your feet, until the people become resentful. So how long has Singapore been authoritarian? And will it last? Crashing down, losing ground, till I see you again. Let's see. Singapore has had authoritarian traits for about 67 years, depending on where you start counting. The People's Action Party took power in 1959 when Singapore became internally self-governed. The party 67 years. Let's see, self-governed. As of 2026, Singapore became fully independent in 1965. So if you count from independence, it has been under PAP dominance for about 61 years. The National Library Board says the PAP won the 1959 election and formed Singapore's first self-governing government under Lee Kuan Yew. But the more clearly authoritarian version hardened in the 1960s, especially after Singapore's independence. Strict legal media political system. Freedom House says Singapore has been dominated by the PAP. Blah, blah, blah. Will it last? Probably yes in the near term. In the 2025 election, the PAP won 87 to 97 parliamentary seats, continuing its 6-decade rule. That tells me the system is still very stable, but over the long term, I think Singapore is more likely to gradually liberalize than suddenly collapse. The PAP, I think there might be a revolution that happens. Sure. Absolutely. But either way, Singapore's successful. That's like the exception to the rule. Here's the thing, though. Most authoritarian rule either ends in a revolution where the people get fed up with the current government, or like in Iran, nobody's wanting to do anything, you know. No, I am very happy though about President Trump getting rid of the Iranian military, essentially. I think that's good. It's definitely an exception, though. Most authoritarian governments tend to crumble because the problem with authoritarians is that they don't like innovation. The truth is, innovation does not happen in collectivist authoritarian-style regimes. It just doesn't work because it threatens the group identity. Innovation threatens the group identity. Also, there's no incentive to innovate in an authoritarian country because wealth itself is typically capped. One of the reasons why China is ultimately going to fail and not be able to innovate at all is due to how they treat people who are successful. If you become a billionaire, man, you disappear for a while in China. That's just all there is to it. Yeah, I just don't trust China. Is really what it boils down to. I just don't trust them at all.
Which is the same thing of our own technology.
Eric, is there any reason to believe that this time will be any different, that China will stop stealing our IP following the summit, even though, as we well know, Eric, that is literally their business plan. If they steal our stuff, make their own stuff cheaper.
I mean, they're going to steal our stuff. They're going to do whatever they have to do to cultivate relationships with our politicians, whether it's Eric Swalwell. Remember, they had, I think, Dianne Feinstein's driver was a Chinese spy. Obviously, we just saw a mayor in California who's admitted to working hand in glove with the Chinese Communist Party. So clearly, this is something that China's trying to do. But Todd, what I see on this global stage is I see President Trump arriving with a bunch of carrots and a bunch of sticks. The sticks are the implied pressure that the global oil prices and the rise that they're having and the impact on China's economy. So clearly China's incentivized to want to do business with the United States, but he's also arriving with all these carrots. Here's the best technology in the world as represented by the people who run these companies. We're here to do business with you. But again, to Marco Rubio's point, we're not being deceived. This is not Joe Biden asleep at the wheel pretending that you guys are just a partner in good faith. We know what you're trying to do. We're actively arresting some of your agents who are trying to do it, yet we still understand it's a huge market. And unlike Canada, who just decided to let Chinese cars be up to 20% of their auto market, we're going to protect American interests, to your last guest point, while still trying to do what's in the best interest of our companies. We want to do business, but it's got to be on our terms, and we're going to have hopefully some safeguards in place to keep you from stealing things that advance your own interest to become the largest power in the world.
You mentioned oil. Carly, in her last segment, talked to Rebecca Grant about the purchasing of oil. I want to go bigger picture, macro. Oil equals Iran. Let's boil it down to that.
Well, yeah, I think here's the thing with Iran. I think we should keep the blockade going. And if it's an Iranian tanker, don't let them through. Period. End of story. They can't go through. They can't go anywhere. If they try to go through, we blast them down.
Because that's what ultimately happens. Will China stop ultimately helping Iran? We know our CIA has indicated that they're going to deny it. And none of the readouts so far are really going into too much detail on Iran. Do you think that at the end of this, China will stop helping Iran, or is it?
I think China's going to low-key, my opinion is that China's going to low-key continue to help Iran. That's my opinion. No, we're blocking the Strait of Hormuz, bro.
Going to be basically business as usual as the war probably continues?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And obviously, it's early days on this. I think that's certainly one of the key talking points, but it's one of many, right? You've got the Iran issue. You've got the Taiwan issue. Here at the Government Accountability Institute, we've done a lot of reporting on what China has done in the narcotics trade in the United States with their relationship with Mexico.
Hey, we got Larson Christopher in the house. What's up, bro? Shout out from the Mayo Clinic. I hope your mom's doing all right, brother. Hope your mom's doing okay. But anyway, let's keep going.
And the fentanyl trade. So I know that there's a number of things they're trying to get China to cooperate on. I think we have seen some positive movement. China is indicating from everything I've seen that they want to kind of take steps towards us. But to your point, this is something that China's been doing for a long time. So I would say any concessions China's willing to make on the Iran issue should be seen as positive and a change in what has been before.
Eric, on our screen, we are looking at a podium with flowers on it. This, of course, the scene of the welcoming banquet. We are awaiting the arrival of President Trump any moment.
Oh, yeah.
Right now, this is at the Great Hall of the People. We're going to bring in Carly here to ask you some questions.
The Great Hall of the People, where this banquet will be held coming up as the president wraps up his night. Of course, China 12 hours ahead of Eastern Standard Time here, so 5:50 p.m. in Beijing. And Eric, as you guys were talking about the state of the economy and oil and what this whole entire summit could mean for the United States, one of the things that should also be focused on is the economic situation in China and the fact that this country is one with a shrinking middle class and one that in 20.
Oh, we got Uncle Chris. OMG. And then Larson Christopher. Yeah, you're welcome, brother. You're welcome, man. No, man, my prayers go out to your mom, man. My mom's been going through some stuff, too. She's been going through some new treatments for her cancer stuff, and honestly, I wish both of our moms success on this one. Chris rule, baby. Chris mother effing rule, dude.
2024, 15.2% of the population lived on less than $8.30 a day. China's economy grew at 9% for years. And now, just last year, it grew at 5%. So how does all of that play into this conversation as the president meets with Xi Jinping, Eric, about the economy and a heavy focus on business ties? And does that at all give the United States any sort of edge over conversations?
Well, and Carly, remember this.
Hey, guys, if you haven't already, don't forget to tap the subscribe button in the upper right-hand corner, as it does help the channel grow. The more subscribers we get, the better. It really keeps us afloat, and, whatever you guys could do to help us out. And the more subs, the better, dude. Sub, rub, dude.
It's like we have to take China's word at it based on those numbers that you just said. And there's been significant questions raised about how truthful and viable the economic numbers coming out of China are, and how much can we trust them? Because some of these numbers actually, in the agencies that report these numbers, sometimes they just disappear. So, and unlike in China, in the United States, when you have economic problems, you hear about it from the people who are suffering. But because of China and the Communist Party and the censorship that they have enacted on their people, you're not going to hear the complaints of those middle class from those numbers you just said. So I do think that the pressure is real, although China does a good job of trying to suppress it because it would weaken their leverage in conversations like this. But no, absolutely. And I would say if there's one thing President Trump understands, and he's demonstrated both in this term and his previous term, it is leverage. I think that's the best way to understand and interpret everything he tries to do on both the political and global stage. He's collecting leverage points, and he's using it strategically to try to advance interests of his administration and ultimately the American people. But it's a key point. But the numbers actually in China could be even worse than what you just said.
Right now, as we await President Trump's arrival at the Great Hall of the People, many members of his administration already in the room. So far, we've seen Stephen Miller, Pete Hegseth, Scott Bessent. And as the camera pulls out, we will certainly see more. Let's circle back to what Cheryl Casoni was talking about earlier. These NVIDIA chips, second most powerful NVIDIA chips, going to be sold to 10 Chinese firms. Is this a good idea, Eric?
I think it's a bad idea. You got to give them you got to give them the older chips, like even older. Like you can't give them the second best chips. You have to give them even older chips than that. They do not need the second best chips. If anything, China deserves like the fourth best. Maybe the fifth, potentially.
Well, I don't think President Trump thinks it's a bad idea. Otherwise, he wouldn't let Jensen Huang get on the plane in Alaska. This is obviously something that's happening with the implicit understanding and permission of Donald Trump. And I do think, just to kind of zoom back out, you talk about having a macro perspective. The fact that Marco Rubio is saying, listen, we understand what China's plan is. That is such a fundamentally different posture than what it was under Joe Biden. You know, we kind of broke the story about Hunter Biden and his business deal with this $1.5 billion joint venture with the Chinese Communist Party. And at the time, you know, Joe Biden, who was the vice president, it was like, well, of course Hunter Biden.
I like Joe Biden. He's number one. I love him. He's lots of fun.
He's just a good businessman. We now know, no, that was part of China's strategy of elite capture. So China's going to do whatever they can to gain access to U.S. markets. At least in this instance, in my opinion, I think they're coming through the front door by doing business with one of the top American companies as opposed.
Oh, Chris is saying something along the lines of, what did Chris say here? Chris is saying, lol, Annie, I don't know what to think after witnessing that. Last night was sexy, dude. I got really cute. I'll just say that I got really ooh-woo cute. Ooh-woo. Oh, man. No, the Michael Garza Show is back.
Opposed to going through the back door of, kind of fomenting relationships with American politicians and having nefarious deals, whether privately, like with Eric Swalwell, or, with the Arcadia mayor, or other ways, right? I mean, China has clearly been engaged in espionage on a number of fronts. At least if they're doing business, there's going to be some safeguards, there's going to be some transparency, and you got a lot of eyes on it from a regulatory standpoint and elsewhere.
Yeah, Eric, one of the issues that we haven't talked about yet in this hour is the issue of rare earth minerals. It's a big one because they're, of course, essential to manufacturing here in the United States. And man, does China have a stranglehold over a majority of them. In October, Xi postponed a measure to restrict the exports for a year. There's been some talk maybe they'll expand that. But I think the overall bigger question would be, can the United States become less reliant on China when it comes to rare earths?
I hope we can. Here's the thing. We don't want to be reliant on China for anything. Mainly because China is a communist regime, communist authoritarian. And I think we need to start cutting ties with China. You know what I mean? We gotta cut our dependency to China. We need to stop being dependent on China.
That's clearly a goal of President Trump because obviously, you don't want to be dependent on China for, and you heard Scott Besson talk about this as soon as they took over in the second administration. You don't want to be reliant on China for lots of different things. Yes. They learned that lesson under the coronavirus. We're relying on them for a lot of the biomedical devices that we needed to kind of respond to that pandemic. And oh, by the way, I heard your segment earlier, there's a new virus potentially growing off the shore of a ship, right? So we don't want to be dependent on China for lots of things, including rare earth minerals. But going back to the whole, we have carrots and we have sticks. So I think one reason why China has suspended their desire to not sell us those rare earth minerals is because of all the carrots that you see on screen right now. There's lots of different incentives for them to want to do business with us. They want to be a good partner, and restricting our access to things we need is not going to advance their agenda or ours.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows.
Interesting stuff, man. Interesting stuff. Here we go. President Trump participates in a state banquet. Here we are.
Please welcome President Xi Jinping and President Donald J. Trump.
习近平主席为特朗普总统对中国进行国事访问举行的欢迎宴会现在开始。
The welcoming banquet hosted by President Xi Jinping for President Donald J. Trump now begins.
首先，请习近平主席致辞。
Now a toast by President Xi.
It was a very legendary banquet.
"尊敬的特朗普总统、女士们、先生们，很高兴为特朗普总统对中国进行国事访问举行国宴。首先，我代表中国政府和中国人民，对特朗普总统和美国代表团表示热烈欢迎。
Honorable President Donald J. Trump, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure to host the state banquet in honor of President Trump during his state visit to China. On behalf of the Chinese government and people, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to President Trump and the U.S.
Yeah, baby. Trump daddy, dude.
delegation.
这是一次历史性访问。今年是中国十五开局之年，14亿多中国人民立足于5000多年中华文明深厚基础，正在以高质量发展全面推进中国式现代化。今年也是美国独立250周年。3亿多美国人民正在重振爱国、创新、开拓精神，推动美国发展迈向新的征程。中美两国人民都是伟大的人民，实现中华民族伟大复兴和让美国再伟大，完全可以并行不悖，相互成就，造福世界。
This is a historic visit. This year marks the start of China's 15th five-year plan for economic and social development. The over 1.4 billion people of China, drawing on the rich heritage of our over 5,000-year civilization, are advancing Chinese modernization on all fronts through high-quality development. This year is also the 250th anniversary of American independence. The over 300 million American people are reinvigorating the spirit of patriotism, innovation, and enterprise, and ushering in a new journey for the development of the United States. The people of China and the United States are both great peoples, achieving the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation.
Well, here's the thing, man. I think I don't think China's doing that well, man. I think China's in a desperate spot. Think about it this way. Why would they roll out such a red carpet for Donald Trump? It's because they know they don't have the upper hand. They have to appease to Trump at this point. They know they don't have the upper hand. China might be a little bit screwed.
And making America great again can go hand in hand. We can help each other succeed and advance the well-being of the whole world.
55年前，尼克松总统派基辛格博士访华，中美开展乒乓外交， 双方官民并举，推开了中美冰封20多年的大门，成为当代国际关系史上重大事件。此后，中美之间以很多开放合作的故事，不断书写着友谊的佳话。新形势下，我同特朗普总统顺应两国人民和国际社会期待，通过多次会晤和通话，推动中美关系保持总体稳定。
55 years ago, President Richard Nixon sent Dr. Henry Kissinger to visit China, and ping-pong diplomacy was carried out between our two countries. Through efforts of the two governments and peoples, the door that had remained frozen for over 20 years was opened, marking a milestone in contemporary international relations.
It's not bad.
From then on,
not bad.
China and the United States have written many chapters of friendship through mutual openness and cooperation. Under the new situation, President Trump and I, fully aware of the expectations of our two nations and the international community, have had multiple meetings and phone calls and kept China-US relations generally stable.
I mean, I still don't trust China. It sucks. I mean, you know, at some point you want to let your guard down, you know, but at the same time, I think there's a good reason that we're not full-on allies with them. I think there's a good reason that we're not full-on allies, you know. Mr. Larson says, lost connection in the elevator. Yeah, fertilizer prices are out of control. Saw 2 sheriffs and an ambulance heading to a farm on the drive. Oh, wow.
今天，我同特朗普总统就中美关系和国际及地区形势深入交换意见。我们一致认为，中美关系是当今世界最重要的双边关系，只能搞好，不能搞坏。两国合则两利，斗则俱伤，应该成为伙伴而不是对手。我们同意构建中美建设性战略稳定关系，推动中美关系稳定、健康、可持续发展，为世界带来更多和平、繁荣、进步。
Today, President Trump and I had in-depth exchanges on China-US relations and the international and regional dynamics. We both believe that the China-US relationship is the most important bilateral relationship in the world. We must make it work and never mess it up. Both China and the United States stand to gain from cooperation and lose from confrontation. Our two countries should be partners rather than rivals. President Trump and I also agreed to build a constructive China-US relationship of strategic stability to promote the steady, sound, and sustainable development of China-US relations.
I want to trust him. I want to. I really do. I want to trust this guy, but at the same time, I just know deep down in my soul of souls, I can't trust the leader of China. I can't. It's mainly because of the problem is we have diametrically opposed views on how political systems should work. China's more authoritarian and communist, whereas the U.S. is more on the side of individualism and freedom. I just don't think that the two worlds collide very well. I don't think that the worlds collide. And by the way, am I optimistic? Sure. It seems like things are working. Let's see. No, we could trust Trump. Trump is far more trustworthy than Z. All right? Trump is far more trustworthy than Z. You know it. First off, Z is part of an authoritarian government, whereas Trump is not part of an authoritarian government. Totally different. Totally different. Big time. If you guys can, don't forget to tap the subscribe button in the upper right-hand corner. Once again, do not forget to tap the subscribe button in the upper right-hand corner. It does help us grow. We're currently sitting pretty at 10,557 subs. Once again, we're at 10,557 subscribers, so please tap the subscribe button to help us grow. We're on an incredible growth path on this channel, and we really want to see how many subscribers we can muster before the end of the month. We're trying to get to 11,000 subs before the end of the month, so every subscriber counts. Subscribers' lives matter. Yeah, subscribers' lives matter, bro. My brony bros, don't forget to subscribe. Yeah, you know it. You heard me.
And bring more peace, prosperity, and progress to the world.
尊敬的特朗普总统先生、女士们、先生们、朋友们，纵观中美关系发展历程，能不能做到相互尊重、和平共处、合作共赢，是中美关系能否稳定发展的关键所在。当今世界变乱交织，中美关系承载着两国17亿多人民的福祉，关乎世界80多亿人民的利益。我们应当共同扛起这个历史重任，推动中美关系这艘巨轮沿着正确的航道平稳前行。
Honorable President Donald J. Trump, ladies and gentlemen, friends. Looking back at the course of China-US relations, whether or not we could have mutual respect, peaceful coexistence, and win-win cooperation is the key to whether the relationship can advance steadily. The world today is changing and turbulent. China-US relations concern the well-being of the over 1.7 billion people of both countries and affect the interests of the over 8 billion people of the world. Both sides should rise up to this historic responsibility and steer the giant ship of China-US relations forward, steadily and in the right direction.
最后，我提议，为中美两国发展繁荣和人民幸福，为中美关系的美好未来和两国人民的友谊，为特朗普总统以及在座的各位朋友的健康干杯。
Now please join me in a toast to the development and prosperity of China and the United States and the well-being of our people, to the bright future of China-US relations and the friendship between the two peoples, and to the health of President Trump and all the friends present. Cheers.
干杯。
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers. Micro wiener strategies. Uh-oh. Michael Saylor. We love Michael Saylor.
谢谢习近平主席。
Thank you, President Xi.
现在请特朗普总统致辞。
Next, a toast by President Trump.
Well, thank you very much. This is a great honor. It was a fantastic day. And in particular, I want to thank President Xi, my friend, for this magnificent welcome. And it really was a magnificent welcome like none.
The GOAT is speaking, dude. The greatest of all time is speaking, bro. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. The Michael Jordan of politics, bro. The Michael Jordan of politics. By the way, if you guys love Trump as much as I do, please like and subscribe. Tap the subscribe button in the upper right-hand corner. It does help the channel grow. But if you guys are fans of Trump like I am, please subscribe to the channel. It does help the channel grow in a lot of ways. So, yeah, please tap that subscribe button, man. It really, really helps. We're Trump fanboys on this channel. We're not afraid to admit that.
And for so graciously hosting us on this very historic state visit.
I'm thankful for you guys.
We had an extremely positive and productive.
Oh, we got one Chuckied in the house. Thank you so much. What up, dude? One Chunkied. We love. We're also loving on Larson Christopher. We're loving on Random Player. We love Annie. We love all you guys, man. We love all you guys on this channel. But yeah, if you guys are big Trump fans like I am, please subscribe to the channel. The more subscribers we get, the better. But yeah, I'm a Trump fan. You know, even if you're not, no big deal. But please subscribe.
Active conversations and meetings today with the Chinese delegation earlier. And this evening is another cherished opportunity to discuss among friends some of the things that we discussed today, all good for the United States and for China. And it was a great honor to be with you. Please.
Yeah, baby.
感谢习近平主席。今天我们度过了非常美好的一天。首先要感谢习近平主席这一盛大的欢迎，那么也非常感谢在这一次历史性的国事访问当中非常慷慨地接待了我的代表团。那么今天早些时候，我们跟中方进行了富有成效以及具有建设性的对话。那今天晚上，
my Chinese is a little off, but what I think he's saying is that Trump's the man, OMG, Trump's the man. That's my interpretation of it. I'm probably wrong, but let's keep going.
将是我们另外的一次机会，能够共同再次讨论我们今天早些时候已经讨论到的一些问题，以及我们的共同利益，以及我们如何能够为全人类塑造更好、更安全的未来。
The relationship between the American and Chinese people goes all the way back to America's founding. The first American consul to China, Samuel Shaw, arrived on the first American trading ship to reach these shores in 1784. The Chinese merchants had a name for the Americans. They called their visions the New People.
The
Two
new
and a
people.
half
Oh, yeah.
centuries later, that first connection has grown into one of the most consequential relationships in world history.
美国人民和中国人民之间的友谊可以追溯到美国的建国之初。那么，美国的第一任驻华大使塞缪尔·肖先生，在1784年乘坐第一艘美国的商船到达了中国的沿岸。当时，中国的商人是这样称呼到来的美国访客。 他们将当时到来的美国访客称为一个崭新的民族。250年后的今天，这一个当初的友谊已经慢慢的演变成为当今世界当中最举足轻重的关系之一。
From the beginning, our citizens have shared a deep sense of mutual respect. Founding Father Benjamin Franklin published the sayings of Confucius in his colonial newspaper. And today's sculpture, recognizing that ancient Chinese sage, is carved into the face of the United States Supreme Court very proudly.
从一开始，我们两国之间的人民就已经有深厚的相互的尊重。美国的国父本杰明·富兰克林曾经在他的殖民报纸当中刊登了孔子的《论语》，而今天在美国最高法院建筑物的门前，可以说有一个雕刻，这个雕刻就是为了向中国的这一名古代的圣人进行致敬。
It kind of sounds like that translator's rapping a little bit, you know what I mean? He's actually doing a really good job, but it kind of sounds like he's rapping, you know? Does anybody hear that? Does he kind of sound like maybe he's like a rapper on the side? Like, yo, 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 it's party time in the house. Heavy sour refines nearly everything. Light sweet refineries can't handle. Oh, okay. Hell yeah.
The appreciation ran in both directions. Chinese admirers of President George Washington gifted a stone tablet honoring his memory to adorn the Washington Monument. It bears the words of a Chinese official who called the great general and statesman a hero among men.
这一种欣赏是相互的。
Hell
那么
yeah.
许多中国人非常崇敬乔治华盛顿总统。
I think that they're loving Trump, dude. I think the Chinese people are gonna be like, dude, Trump, please keep coming back. You're the man, dude. That's what I think's gonna happen.
总统，那么这些人当时就向美国捐赠了一个石碑，就是为了纪念华盛顿总统。 目前这个石碑已经镶嵌在华盛顿纪念碑里面，石碑上刻有当时的一名中国官员形容这一名伟大的将军和政治家，他们把他称为“人中豪杰”。
And across the centuries, this mutual esteem grew into a relationship that reflected the tremendous talent and potential of our two people. Chinese workers helped lay the railroad tracks that connected our Atlantic coast to the Pacific. American travelers to China helped spread literacy and modern medicine. And at the request of China's ambassador, it was President Theodore Roosevelt who provided the funds to establish President Xi's alma mater, Tsinghua University.
Yeah,
在过去几百年当中。
My alma mater was the Quality Learning Center. Unfortunately, I didn't get the best education out there. Unfortunately.
相互的尊敬已经成为了一段全新的关系。这段关系可以说反映出我们两国人民之间巨大的潜力。 以及我们的努力和智慧，中国工人当初帮助美国建设了我们的铁路路轨，连通了美国的大西岸和太平洋沿海地区。美国当时早期出访中国的美国人也帮助中国提升了识字率，并且引入了现代医学，并且应时任中国驻华大使的请求。 罗斯福总统也专门提供了资金，成立了习主席的母校清华大学。
As allies in World War II, President Franklin Roosevelt's mentions of the brave people of China, that's what they were, drew loud cheers in his speeches in the United States, and everybody loved what he had to say, just as many Chinese now love basketball and blue jeans. Chinese restaurants in America today outnumber the 5 largest fast food chains in the United States, all combined. That's a pretty big statement.
That's actually wild.
那么，作为二战期间的盟国，罗斯福总统在美国的多次演讲当中提到了勇敢的中国人民。正如当前许多中国人非常喜欢篮球和穿蓝色的牛仔裤。 在美国目前的中餐厅的数量，要比美国前5大。
We got random player Boomer Maxon. Random players Boomer Maxon over there. Are you a boomer, random player? You're just a boomer who's like in their 20s. Boomer Maxon.
快餐连锁店的总的店面还要多。
This bond of commerce and respect that stretches back 250 years is the foundation for a future that benefits both of our nations. The American and Chinese people share much in common. We value hard work, we value courage and achievement, we love our families, and we love our countries. Together we have the chance to draw on these values to create a future of greater prosperity, cooperation, and happiness, and peace for our children. We love our children. This region and the world, it's a special world with the two of us united and together.
那么至于商业当中的纽带以及我们的相互尊重，可以说追溯到250年前，是我们将要构建的未来的基础。至于未来将会惠及我们两国的人民，美国人民和中国。
Yeah, here's the problem though, man. Here's my problem with China, man. My issue with China overall is that they're communist. Communist regimes tend to fall. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time, but they tend to fall. I think what's happening in China is a great decline. I'm really feeling that right now. I'm feeling it. I believe that there is a great decline happening.
中国人民有许多的共同点，我们都崇尚劳动，我们都崇尚勇气和成就，我们都非常爱我们的家庭，我们也爱我们的国家。我们两国一道，我们将有机会基于我们共同的价值观，创造出一个更加繁荣、基于合作、幸福、和平的未来，为我们的子孙。为本地区以及全世界造福。
Thank you again, President Xi, for this beautiful welcome. And tonight it is my honor to extend an invitation to you and Madam Peng to visit us at the White House this September 24th. And we look forward to it. And I'd now like to raise a glass and propose a toast to the rich and enduring ties between the American and Chinese people. It's a very special relationship, and I want to thank you again. This has been an amazing period of time. Thank you, President Xi.
那么再一次感谢习主席，感谢这一美好的欢迎。那么今天晚上，我也想借此机会向您以及彭女士提出邀请，于9月24号邀请你们出访白宫。那我也希望，针对美国人民和中国人民之间深厚的以及持久的友谊，我提议我们进行举杯。那么我们这两国关系是非常独特的一项关系。
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
感谢。
Thank you, everybody, very much.
感谢。
I don't know what's up with this dude behind Xi Jinping. Xi Jinping. Yeah, congrats to Donald Trump, dude. Donald Trump's the man, by the way. I don't care what anybody says. Donald Trump's the man, though, dude. Donald Trump's the GOAT, bro. The GOAT. The greatest of all time. I love Donald Trump, bro. Dude's a stud, dude. Donald Trump is a stud. Don't care what you say. Nah, man. I'm not getting conned, dude. Donald Trump is the GOAT, dude. Donald Trump is the only truthful president we've had in a long time. So I love it, bro. I look, I believe Trump's the man. I firmly believe that Trump is the man. Sorry. Not sorry. Oh, former CIA official calls.
John Kiriakou is a former CIA officer and whistleblower. Does this jive with how things are done at the agency? Someone just makes a phone call and everything changes?
Unfortunately, yes. We see this kind of thing all the time. And Jesse, at the heart of this story is that it's always best to tell the truth. The truth always comes out. And I want to comment on the whistleblower, too. This was a very brave thing he did. He put his reputation on the line today. He told the world exactly what the truth was.
Amazing, dude. Amazing. And we all knew, except for the liberals, we all knew what this was. We all knew what Fauci was up to. I'm not going to say what he was up to, but we know. Ugh. Fauci just, honestly, even everything about Dr. Fauci, even his aura, just gives me the heebie-jeebies, dude.
Will probably never work in government again because of it. But now we have an idea of what was being done secretly, yet in our name.
And Fauci got pardoned. So
yes,
he may
did.
have killed 1 million Americans. We don't know if the exact virus was Frankensteined out that he paid for. But still, I mean, and then he just walks away like nothing happened?
Yeah, jeez.
My cousin George Koletsu was the second person in the state of Ohio to die of COVID back in very early 2020. That death still stings all of us in our family. And now I can't help but to look at Dr. Fauci and think, you liar. Look what you've done to our country. And you're right. He was auto-penned right into freedom and wealth and untold riches in his retirements. That is unacceptable.
He was protected, and so was China, which makes it even worse. And this just in, John, the CIA just raided Tulsi Gabbard's office. Agents hauled out dozens of boxes, files on the JFK assassination and MK Ultra, the CIA mind control operation.
What? Really? Wait, why would they raid Gabbard's office? Whoa, what's happening here, bro? What? Now, this is concerning. Why would the CIA... I want to hear more about this.
Which she was in the process of declassifying.
Oh,
Today's
geez.
whistleblower said it during his deposition, and Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna confirmed it moments ago.
The reason why this is troubling is, A, there was an executive order that the president had directed the full declassification of JFK, but then also to the MK.
That's crazy. So if President Donald Trump orders these declassifications, then they should be declassified. If the CIA... Is the CIA breaking the... Allegedly, is the CIA breaking the law by basically raiding the office, seizing the documents that are supposed to be revealed? If these are supposed to be declassified, why are they raiding the office, and why are they... It sounds pretty fishy to me. The CIA is... I think the CIA needs to be investigated. The Central Intelligence Agency needs to be investigated, in my opinion. That's insane. Insane.
MK Ultra files, the CIA famously has said that, all documents were released and other documents had been destroyed. So these are allegedly those documents that apparently never existed.
Can the CIA overrule the president?
I don't think they can. If the president wants to declassify these, he has every right, last time I checked, unless there's some sort of loophole in the law that allows the CIA to intervene. I doubt that, though. I highly doubt that.
No, the CIA cannot overrule the president. The CIA cannot even overrule the director of national intelligence.
It's interesting that they're doing this while President Trump is in China. Isn't it fascinating that they're doing this while Trump is in China? I think this is going to be a big news story here pretty soon, unless they decide to cover it up like the mainstream media typically does, but we'll see. We shall see.
1975, the Church Committee, which became the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, specifically ordered DCI William Colby to release all of the MK Ultra files. He famously went back to CIA headquarters and ordered that all of the files be destroyed. 85% of them were destroyed. He was held in contempt of Congress, and then CIA employees lined the halls and contributed cash to pay for the fine that he was ordered to pay. We only know what we know about MK Ultra because of the 15% of the files that weren't destroyed. These are among those 15% of the files. They are mandated to be declassified. The American people have a right to know what is in these files, and the CIA can't raid offices, least of all the offices of the Director of National Intelligence. It's just real life isn't supposed to work this way. This is crazy.
This is something
And that shouldn't have happened at all. Exactly. It should not have happened. Period.
Out of a movie, but the CIA was experimenting with LSD on willing and unwilling participants during the Cold War for intelligence operations and to exploit people, and it didn't go well a lot of the time. And they threw it all in a wastebasket, right? Like, it never really worked. Is that why they don't want anybody to know about it?
I think they don't want people to know any more than what we know about, for example, dosing innocent citizens of San Francisco, California, or a small village in France and putting LSD in the yeast at the only bakery in the village just to see if everybody in the village would go nuts.
That's
which they
insane,
did, of course.
dude.
Or coming up with a program in San Francisco.
That's evil. Dude, the CIA is freaking evil, in my opinion. That just sounds like some evil garbage, dude. I think the CIA has too much power, and I think that their powers need to be lessened, if we're going to be honest. That's too much power for anyone. Anyone.
Francisco to hire prostitutes to dose Johns and see if they would cough up their innermost secrets. Ridiculous.
Well, you just have to hire
Gift
Swalwell.
yum. Gift yum. Hey, thank you, Annie, for sending a pair of headphones for 3,600 joules. Holy smokes. Everybody give a round of applause to Annie for sending headphones. Guess what? I don't know where my other... Oh, here we go. Hey, thank you for the headphones, Annie. Appreciate it. Well, I've had these. But thank you for the virtual headphones, though. Greatly appreciate it. You know what? I'm going to put these on my head. Mm-hmm. But thank you, Annie, big time. I appreciate the headphones. These are actually one of the headphones that I use from time to time. They're the JLab ones. And from time to time, I'll actually use them when I'm like walking around and stuff and listening to music and or even talking to ChatGPT. But check it out, bro. Look at that. Very sexy headphones, though. And so I just wear these when I'm doing like stuff around the house and stuff. These are kind of like my around the house headphones, and then I have some wired headphones that I like to use when I go out and about. Put these over here. But yeah, thank you big time, Annie. I appreciate those headphones for the 3,600 joules, man. That's a lot of joules, bro.
Anything. John, I hope we get to the bottom of this soon. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows.
Yeah, baby. Jesse Waters. Make sure that you guys double tap the screen to like the stream one more time. Do not forget to double tap your screen to like the stream. Let's go, bro. We got to get likes, man. We need more likes. We're trying to get 90 likes in 90 minutes. Once again, we're trying to get to 90 likes in 90 minutes. So double tap your screen to like the stream, bro. Annie says, no problem, Garza, you rock, bud. Well, thank you, Annie. I appreciate it big time. I really do. I always try to put on a fun show for everybody. Gotta try. I gotta try.
Streaming now on Fox 1. John Kiriakou is a former CIA.
All right, let's see here. I want to see what the latest is about the Trump and China. See what we can figure out, man. Okay, just in, White House reveals new details on Xi
Nearing
Jinping
the end of his
meeting.
high-stakes
Yeah,
visit
let's
to
go.
China now. He kept his word on having that long private meeting with President Xi. They sat down for more than 2 hours. President Trump says it was extremely productive. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus.
Oh,
President
fuck.
Trump is now revealing more
Oh,
about his
fuck.
private conversation with Xi. Here he is with Sean Hannity in an interview that will air in full tonight.
President Xi would like to see a deal made. He would like to see a deal made. And he did offer. He said, if I can be of any help at all, I would like to be of help. Because
Hell yeah, dude. Xi Jinping, dude. Fuck yeah, dude. What a stud.
yeah, he did say that. And
If Xi Jinping is on the side of Donald Trump, I'm gonna call him a stud. As long as he's aligned with Trump in this one, man. If he goes against Daddy, dude, I'm gonna get pissed. There's not much I could do, honestly. But if he does, I'm gonna be sad. I'm gonna be pissed.
And look, anybody that buys that much oil has obviously got some kind of a relationship with him. But he said, I would love to be a help. If I could be of any help whatsoever, he'd like to see the Hormuz Strait open. He said, if I could be of any help whatsoever,
Let's get it
I would
open,
like to
dude.
help.
Let's get it open.
The White House
I
says
want
the
it
two
open,
leaders
dude. Give it open. Get it open. I'm spreading my cheeks, dude. I'm taking a look at silver prices right now, bro. All right, give me a second, you guys. I'm looking at silver prices. Diddy in a crisis. There's a lot Diddy did in this city. There's a lot Diddy did with his dog. He shouldn't make no white girls. There's a lot Diddy did with his dog.
talked about ways to enhance economic cooperation in the flow of fentanyl precursors into the United States. And they agreed, again, as the president just pointed out, that the strait needs to be free and open as a waterway. She also, though, expressed interest in purchasing more American oil to reduce China's dependence on the Strait of Hormuz in the future. The White House says both leaders agreed Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. Here's Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
Economies are melting down because of this crisis in the Straits. They're going to be buying less Chinese product, and the Chinese exports are going to drop precipitously. So it's in their interest to resolve this. We hope to convince them to play a more active role in getting Iran to walk away from what they're doing now and trying to do now in the Persian Gulf.
Now, you may recall in 2017, President Trump again got the full state visit treatment in Beijing. However, some observers now are saying this visit feels more personal. Trump and Xi smiled, shook hands, and walked through the ceremony together. The images are warmer, but the stakes are higher. Steve Yates, a former deputy national security advisor to Vice President Dick Cheney, is coming up in focus. Let's begin with senior White House correspondent Jackie Heinrich in Beijing. Jackie.
Harris, China really spared no expense rolling out the red carpet for President Trump. He was also a very gracious guest here. However,
Trump is zaddy, bro. Trump is zaddy, dude. Trump's the man, dude. I love Trump.
The state banquet, there were also warnings from Xi that were wrapped up in pleasantries, and in the Chinese readout of the bilateral meeting, there was more of a direct threat even. It called Taiwan the most important issue for U.S. China relations, saying if it isn't handled properly, quote, the two countries will have clashes and even conflicts, putting the entire relationship in great jeopardy. Taiwan independence and cross-strait peace are as irreconcilable as five.
Oh, hey, thank you, Kevin, for the 100 for 2 jewels. Everybody give a shout out to Kevin. Gift, yum, yum, bro. Thank you. Thank you for the gift, bro. Welcome in, brother. Thanks for the gift, my friend. Everybody give a shout out to Kevin, GRU, for the 100 for 2 jewels. Mucho apreciato. You're the man now, dog. You're the man now, dog.
Fire and water. The U.S. side must exercise extra caution in handling the Taiwan question. Now, we were thinking from that statement, it was likely that Trump did not give Xi what he wanted on Taiwan. And an interview with Marco Rubio just in a little while ago indicates that the U.S. did not, as expected, change its position.
Yum. Gift, yum, yum. Hey, thank you for the star for 2 jewels. Mucho apreciado. I love it, brony. Thank you, bro. Brah. Thank you for the stars, man. Appreciate it.
China, though, was expected to dangle some help with Iran in exchange for some movement on the Taiwan issue. Accordingly, China's readout makes no mention of Iran. But the White House readout says President Xi also made clear China's opposition to militarization of the strait and any effort to charge a toll for its use. And he expressed interest in purchasing more American oil to reduce China's dependence on the strait in the future. Now, it's not clear whether more purchases of American oil will result in fewer Chinese purchases of Iranian oil. But Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent indicated the U.S. doesn't really need China's help.
I think they're going to do what they can, and here China has a much bigger interest in reopening the strait than the U.S. does. China gets about a third of its energy needs from the Gulf. The main loading facility for Iranian oil is a facility called Karg Island. We've seen that there have been no loadings in the past 3 days. We believe their storage is full. They're going to start shutting down their production. We can see that that's happening from satellite photos.
Now, China's readout also.
Yum, 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 yum. There we go. You satisfied now? Are you satisfied with those yum yum, bros? You are satisfied. I know you are, bro. I know it, bro. Brony. There's a lot did in this city. There's a lot did with his dong.
Also mentions that Xi referenced the Thucydides trap in his meeting, which references how tensions between a ruling power and a rising power have often resulted in war historically. Those are some sharp words, and in the backdrop of all of this, Russia just piped up to remind folks
that is kind of true because, dude, the U.S. and China for now are 2 superpowers. I don't think China is as powerful as they're leading on to be. I think they're blowing smoke up our ass on how powerful they really are. But hold on. All right.
that they are friends with China, too, saying that Putin will be coming here in the very near future, Harris.
Yeah, making it look a little bit more like a play yard, unfortunately, than the world stage acting like that. Jackie, thank you very much. In focus now, Steve Yates, former Deputy National Security Advisor to Vice President Cheney. He's also Heritage Foundation's Senior Research Fellow for China. Great to have you today. First of all, what do the American people get out of this visit to China?
Well, Harris, very, very important question. I think the first challenge the American public is going to need to have is sort of...
I mean, at least they're talking, but who knows? The talks could escalate into something worse. These are two superpowers. We don't know what the result will be ultimately, so it's a little scary. But we'll see.
Suspend disbelief about what the words are exchanged, and let's watch carefully what actions follow. There's a lot of theater that goes into exchanges with China, maybe with every country, but especially with China.
Too much theater.
Some of the words that Xi Jinping is expressing personally sound reassuring. They could be reassuring. And then, as your reporting accurately gave,
we don't
some
know.
of the official Borg talk that comes from the bureaucracy has a bit more fangs in the smile than the pleasantry.
Did he say Borg? Did I hear Borg? O-M-G.
Could be reassuring. And then, as your reporting accurately gave, some of the official Borg talk that comes from the bureaucracy has a bit more fangs in the smile than the pleasantries that came from Xi Jinping.
I think he said the Borg.
That's just a reminder that the Chinese Communist Party is a system. It's not an individual. Xi Jinping has a lot of power, but ultimately it's a system, and that's a challenge for any American interlocutor trying to negotiate.
Look, people are looking at gas prices.
So basically, and they are communists, by the way. That's the problem with China. And because China, you could compare them to the Borg. It's interesting that he mentioned the Borg from Star Trek. The Borg were a warning against collectivism in a lot of ways. If you think about it, the Borg were definitely a warning that sometimes collectivism is just not just sometimes, but all the time. Collectivism on a full hierarchical scale is just not a good thing. Hold on, you guys. I got to make sure this looks good. Okay. There's a lot did in this city. There's a lot did with his dog. Okay, that works. I'm making sure the sliding text is looking good. Hold on. Okay, that looks good. There's a lot did in there where there's no.
As they hear that maybe somebody would like to also join us in, opening a free waterway in the Strait of Hormuz. Actually, the words, as you said.
Well, random player, are you doing okay, man? Are you doing all right, random player? It's all right, brother. Hopefully you're doing all right, brother. Hopefully you're doing good.
Sound better than some of the words that we've heard from members of NATO on that issue.
Odd irony in that, for sure, Harris. But here's an example of where China's extension of power at distance is not what people might think. They have not actually exercised that much influence. They were part of the problem, obviously buying a lot of illicit oil that was under sanctions because of Iran being the world's largest state sponsor of terror. And they haven't exactly exercised influence and probably, as General Jack Keane has intimated, don't really want that regime to go away. They've had decades of relations with it. So this is where I think the president's probably making some pressure points and inducement points, and we'll see whether the Chinese adjust. But really, this is the disparity. America is a world superpower exercising shaping influence. China is somewhat of a tactical influencer. So on tactics, maybe the president can get some progress.
Interesting. And they've known each other for a period of time. So that private conversation, even though there may be some shared moments, I'm sure there's some that won't be shared. Jackie mentioned Jackie mentioned the comment from President Xi Jinping. He said the meeting between the U.S. and China puts the world at a delicate inflection. Watch this.
The world has reached a new crossroads, whether China and the United States can overcome the so-called Thucydides trap and create a new paradigm of great power relations, whether we can work together to address global challenges and inject more stability into the world.
What does that mean to you?
Well, the Thucydides trap narrative really has come out of China. It's been echoed and amplified by a famous Harvard academic. And I think it's been pretty powerfully rebutted by Victor Davis Hanson, who is a classicist supreme. But essentially, it's part of the Chinese narrative that they're on the rise somewhat inevitably, and that America and the West are broadly on decline. And it's sort of a hint to the world, maybe you ought to make a deal for the side the elevator's going up on. But the reality, I think, President Trump has done a good job of shifting that negotiating table. America has different relations in the broader Middle East. America has had powerful influence on energy flows. Key choke points like the Panama Canal, Straits of Hormuz, Straits of Malacca, all really have...
In a lot of ways, Trump is... Honestly, the U.S. has made it very tough on China. I think the reason that China's kicking... Sorry, not kicking. The reason that China seems to be kissing ass right now, kissing the ass of the U.S., allegedly, is because they're not getting a lot of the natural resources they need to keep their economy going. If anything, the U.S. has become very active in making it to where it's tougher on China, if you think about it. So I don't know. I don't think China is going to do well. I don't think China is doing well. I know there's some people out there that say, yeah, China's doing really well. Yeah. But they're not. There's a lot did in this city. There's a lot did with his dog.
Heavily influenced by America, at some level, she has to know that reality, not the academic version that the Central Party School is giving about Thucydides.
Well, look, and Steve, I mean, if you take a look at a map today of the Strait of Hormuz and the Gulf Coast of the United States, they're very different right now. Yes, there's a U.S. blockade on, so that's what we're capable of doing. And yes, there is a whole lot of commerce going on with oil refining and selling it off the coast of the United States, the Gulf Coast, that heavy crude that's coming through Venezuela. So the game has changed. I don't know if China wants to publicly say that, but you know they see it.
And one indication of that, Harris, is the statement that China's agreed to buy more from America on energy. That is an interesting flipping of the script where they tried to hold out rare earths as a critical vulnerability. I think President Trump has pretty effectively exposed that they have some massive vulnerabilities and dependencies. They need access to America's consumers badly. They don't function without it. And they have huge dependencies on energy, and America is a part of the solution.
Do they really need us, though, as consumers? I mean, technically, China, I don't think really does. They need us as producers, not consumers. Sorry. Why would they need us as consumers? But yeah, I think China's cooked at the end of the day. I just think that the downfall of China, we're witnessing it slowly. And that's my take on it. It's just a take. Nothing more, nothing less, but
Real quickly, Taiwan, and the kind of a warning shot from Xi saying, you know, if you mishandle that, the United States, there could be conflict.
Now, in my lifetime, there's been a variation of that statement in every presidential exchange. The Chinese deliver it from top to bottom. It's empirically not true that Taiwan is the most important issue in U.S. China relations. There are several others that are quite big, but it is a potential flashpoint. And I think so far, all indications the president handled it exactly as he should. Just shift to other topics and emphasize cooperation elsewhere.
Steve Yates, always great to have you in focus. Thank you. Be sure to like and subscribe for all.
As president.
I don't know, man. I think Taiwan could be. Here's the thing: we should not let China take over Taiwan. Period. End of story. I think that would be that would set a bad precedent for the world. We do not want China to expand because they're communist. Communist philosophy should not be taking over the world because it's a bad philosophy. It doesn't work. And I think China's cooking the books. They're making it seem like they're more successful than they are. That's what I believe. See, the U.S. can back up their success. China can't. China has to steal intellectual property because they can't innovate on their own. And the reason they can't is very simple. Collectivist countries don't allow for innovation. They don't even allow you to become a billionaire. Really. And most of that wealth goes to China, as far as I know, allegedly. So that's the way I see it. That's the way I feel it, brah. Brah. Oh, Spencer Pratt is dominating the L.A. mayoral race?
Spencer Pratt has grabbed all the attention in the race for L.A. mayor and poses a serious threat to actually win.
Councilwoman Robbins' plan for treatment.
Dude, if Spencer Pratt wins, oh my God, I gotta look this up on Kalshi. Hold on. I'm not gonna put Kalshi on the screen because I don't know if that goes up against the gambling rules or whatever. Because Kalshi's basically gambling. Spencer Pratt. I'm looking up Kalshi Spencer Pratt real quick. Oh, wow. So Karen Bass has a higher chance of winning? Really? Dude, come on, man. I think this is going to be... I think it's going to be huge. I think Spencer Pratt is going to win. I really do. I want to believe that Los Angeles is not that stupid to re-elect Karen Bass. I want to believe. But we'll see. You know, here's the problem. I bet these people are betting based on the polls. You don't want to bet based on the polls because only losers take the time to fill out polls. That's the truth, man. They take the time. They take like 40 minutes out of their day or whatever amount of time it takes. I never do polls because I think it's a waste of time.
First, I will go below the Harbor Freeway tomorrow with her, and we can find some of these people she's going to offer treatment for. She's going to get stabbed in the neck. These people do not want a bed. They want fentanyl or super meth.
So what are his...
I mean, he's right. He's so fucking right. He's correct. Dude, Spencer Pratt better win, dude. I think L.A. Make L.A. great again. I don't know when L.A. was ever really that great, but we'll see.
His opponents say as he ascends?
People will turn to fascism, to mini Trump, which is who I think Spencer Pratt really represents.
Mini Trump. You just don't like him because he talks actual sense. And you guys are all about socialism, which isn't sensical at all. It's stupid.
Social media is now taking on a violent turn, and that worries me.
So it's pretty clear, isn't it? They're scared. Now Pratt is accusing CBS.
Well, of course they're scared because they know that they had. The thing is, all they can do is attack him for. They have nothing to attack him on is the problem. Everything that they attack him for is actually ends up being a great political ad for him. You know what I mean? He wants more police. That's not a bad thing. He wants less social workers, more police. That sounds fabulous. Good. Because you have a drug problem in LA. You have a homelessness crisis. You have mismanaging of reservoirs for fire season.
Yes, of helping out incumbent Mayor Karen Bass.
CBS filmed with me on my burnt out lot for over an hour talking about crime, housing, affordability, things that voters care about. And they turned it over to Karen Bass's PR team to edit it into a comical 5-minute hit piece with clips from the hills.
Here's a snippet.
My answer is no.
Sweet. My answer is get out of my car. Pratt first made a name for himself as the resident villain on MTV's hit show, The Hills. But the 42-year-old former reality star, who has no political experience, is now a main character.
I think it's great that he doesn't have political experience. He'll learn on the go. Honestly, it's sad because the person with political experience, Karen Bass, has ran LA into the ground, right? So honestly, I would rather take the guy who has no experience than the person who has tons of experience and has totally destroyed LA. Allegedly. Eric says he has zero shot of winning. I hope he wins because of your statement. I hope he wins. I think you're scared, Eric. I think you're actually scared he's going to win. Why would I like socialism? Socialism on a small scale is okay, but socialism on a large federal scale is actually a scary thing.
In the Los Angeles mayoral race.
The LA media is trying to make a lack of experience a big talking point, as if he could possibly do any worse than what LA has had.
People are done with these skeezy political tricks, and I'm done with CBS. They should release the full, unedited interview. The voters deserve to hear from their next mayor.
And believe it or not, CBS did release what seems to be most of the interview. So there's a lesson in there, isn't there? You don't need to play nice with the media when you're running for office and they're obviously against you. Anyway, Spencer Pratt was great in the interview, and of course they used none of it in their report. So here's the good stuff.
I didn't want to run for mayor, but I saw that Mayor Bass was 100% going to get 4 more years on June 2nd. Nobody else was stepping up. I wish somebody with the experience that everybody wants stepped up, but we didn't get that opportunity. So I had to step up. This idea that I'm up against these really intelligent, great people that they don't know what they're doing. They're failing. 6 people are dying in the street every day. That's the experience I'm up against. Yeah, I'll promise you I won't let 6 people die in the streets. The city is a disaster. People, that's why I have so much momentum. People don't care if I'm not a
Yeah, they don't. We don't care. And if I lived in LA, I'd vote for him.
Politician. Mayor Bass had no experience running a city. She was a congresswoman. She maybe made a post office. This Councilwoman Rahman can't even handle her own district. She's not some experience. I'm not running against people who are successful.
Many have.
Yeah, and that's the point that Pratt's making, and he's right. These people are not successful politicians that he's running against. In fact, if anything, they're complete failures. Karen Bass is a failure. Miss Rahman is a failure. They're just failures. No, if I could vote for Spencer Pratt, if I lived in LA and I could vote for Spencer Pratt, I'd vote for him in a second. Don't even think that Karen Bass is a winner. Karen Bass is not a good mayor, dude.
I've compared you to Zohran Mamdani in the sense, I mean, your politics are obviously very, very, very different, but in the sense that you've really harnessed the power of social media to get your message out. What do you think of that comparison?
You know, the one thing I connect with is I know he promised his voters, like, the subway will be free. And I'm promising my voters the metro buses, the metro trains, they will be free from urine, feces, stabbing.
Stud. This is why this man stands out, dude. He's not blowing smoke up your ass. He's just tired of the Democrat status quo, which is be soft on crime. That's the Democrat status quo, soft on crime. Let people just do drugs wherever they want. That's the Democrat status quo, allegedly. And yeah.
Attacks. So that's kind of similar. We both had free things for public transportation. Mayor Bass, I keep saying this, why my house was burning down and she was in Ghana, her deputy mayor, who was supposed to be calling in the fixed air wing support to drop water on the state park here, he wasn't, because he was on house arrest for calling in a bomb threat to City Hall.
That is so insane. Like, that in itself is insane. And, you know, people don't realize that this guy has skin in the game because he lost his home due to the negligence of Karen Bass.
If that's the experience voters are looking for, we've seen it. Bass has not changed. Councilwoman Robin is actually a worse change. It's Bass, but worse, which is mind-boggling. You heard Mayor Bass call her out last night in the debate. She's terrible. She doesn't even show up to any of these votes, any of these things she's talking about. She hasn't done in 5 years of being the third most powerful person in city council. So now she has all these ideas because she thinks, you know, she can hop in because Mayor Bass's approval is so low. She's just a clout chaser. Nobody even bothers calling 911 because unless you're actually being shot at, the response time, they'll be like, go online. They don't have the resources right now because of the amount of drug addicts taking all the law enforcement resources, the fire department resources. We have
I would never want to live in L.A. That just sounds like a nightmare, dude. L.A. sounds like a bloody nightmare, bro.
Evil diseases on these streets, in these encampments. Go walk around Los Angeles and swab some of these encampments. The CDC needs to be shutting down these streets and putting up white tents, and we need to be spraying these streets with chlorine or whatever chemical because these streets are not safe.
Most LA voters for the first time saw a different side of the reality show villain that Americans associate you with. Do you think you changed perceptions on that debate stage?
You know, I always have been an authentic person. People know when I was a reality villain, I was doing it to get paid. I was chasing ratings bonus. That was all a character. And again, that's 20 years ago. Since then, I've been a father to 2 sons, a husband of almost 20 years to my amazing angel wife. I would much rather be in my house feeding my hummingbirds and have my life back. But that wasn't God's path for me. And so now I'm going to undo the harm these people are doing to a lot of people.
And this guy's the man, dude. This is why I would vote for him if I could. I'm voting for him in spirit, obviously, because I can't vote for him in the LA mayoral race. But yeah. Unreal. All right, let's keep going, man.
In the city of LA, everyone is done with politicians, period. They see me and they don't see a politician. Everyone wants to support that. That's real grassroots.
Precisely. Heck yeah, bro. Heck yeah. Amazing. He's got my vote, bro. Dude's got my vote. Straight the F up, bro. Yeah, I think a lot of people are voting. I honestly think that he's gained so much momentum, and I think that people would feel embarrassed voting for Karen Bass, even privately. I think they take one look at Spencer Pratt and they're like, let's vote for this guy. I think he's got the momentum. I think Karen Bass has nothing to run on. Oh, Palm Beach Pete took a DNA test. What's the result? We're just going to skip to the end.
Constituents. And, it's all about some video clips.
You are also a quote-unquote influencer.
The real estate market is stable right now. I think the Gen Zers, they love West Palm.
I think it's beautiful. Like I said, I really appreciate you doing the DNA test.
My pleasure.
This is gold, boys. This DNA test right here from Palm Beach Pete is gold. You guys have been complaining about it.
Okay, we're going to see if Palm Beach Pete is Jeffy. Is Palm Beach Pete Jeffy Epi?
For months. Have you seen the comments,
Is he?
Pete?
Yes.
They want a DNA test. We got it. So what are you going to say next? You saw the nurse.
I'm going to say vote early and vote often for Palm Beach Pete.
But first thing first, we're going to get this DNA test.
I'm not worried about that.
At all.
That's a minor thing. I'm Palm Beach Pete. That guy, Jeffrey
Palm Beach
Epstein,
Pete, dude.
He's done. But there are crazy conspiracists out there that think I'm him, and that will prove that I'm not him. We did the lie detector test. Now we have the DNA. And next moving.
I love how he basically Palm Beach Pete going on the Nikki Gordo show transformed a small YouTube channel into a 14,000 subscriber channel. Holy crap, man.
Forward, mayor of Palm Beach.
And after this, you'd want that Jeffrey Epstein talk to be put away.
I can't tell people what to do. The internet has a mind of its own. I can't control it. But hopefully,
they're
they'll
always going to
understand
think
better.
that he's Jeffrey.
Because me and all my boys, we Jeffrey Epstein. I don't like that guy.
He was an awful human being.
Awful.
No doubt.
What happened? Hold on. Wait, what happened to the audio?
Free.
If you want to tell me your campaign.
Well, why'd they have to blank out the audio, bro? Okay, let's take a look.
But Pete, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
I genuinely appreciate you. If you want to tell me your campaign slogan before you leave, you can plug it in. Palm Beach Pete for Mayor 2028.
Palm Beach Pete for Mayor of 2028. You know my platform? Free dog walking service. Free use of a convertible. Free fitness trainers. Free cabana setup. More tennis courts. Botox for men
Oh, God.
and
Botox
women
for men?
on the island. And personal trainers for everybody.
Hey, Palm Beach
Make
Pete.
make quality of life better for the residents.
Well, hold on. That's the problem, though. I guess fitness trainers will be in business for sure, but
On Palm Beach.
Make quality of life better for the residents of Palm. I like it.
Thank you.
Palm Beach Pete for Mayor 2028, boys. Let's.
okay. Well, I'm concerned. Muting it was diabolical. Yeah, why was it me to discuss it? Yeah. Damn it, dude. This is pissing me off, dude. They're just making it even more sus, dude. My God, dude. I'm Palm Beach Pete.
That we have the greatest businessmen, the biggest, and I guess the best in the world. We have amazing people, and they're all with me. Every single one of them, and they're here today to pay respects to you and to China, and they look forward to trade and doing business, and it's going to be totally reciprocal on our behalf.
Well, I am curious to see what Fox Business has to say about this. We'll take a look.
Xi telling American CEOs and the president that China will open its door wider to U.S. businesses, and it's already...
That's actually a good thing. So if they're going to open the door wider to U.S. businesses, that means that we're going to see a stock market rally like no other. Let's see. Well, it looks like things are going up a bit. Interesting. It's going to be a big deal, man. It's going to be a wider demand, man. It's going to be a true demand. Okay, I'm... Fuck. All right. We're back. I'm back. I wanna be back.
Begun, the U.S. reportedly just cleared more NVIDIA chip sales, and Trump says China will buy 200 Boeing jets. As for Iran, the two sides agreed Tehran can't control the Strait of Hormuz, and the White House says Xi is now considering buying more U.S. energy.
President Xi would like to see a deal made. He would like to see a deal made. And he did offer, he said, if I can be of any help at all, I would like to be of help. Because,
he did say that.
Yeah, he did say that. And look, anybody that buys that much oil has obviously got some kind of a relationship with him. But he said, I would love to be of help. If I can be of any help whatsoever, he'd like to see the Hormuz Strait open.
Well, it sounds pretty cordial around those parts, and apparently there's some deal-making happening. But are you happy to hear that?
Yeah, I think it's a good thing when the President of the United States and the leader of the second biggest economy in the world are getting along well and not beating the hell out of each other. I think it's a lot warmer and friendlier and more cheerful than expected. I saw as the President arrived, you had all these little Chinese kids jumping up and down, waving flags, jumping up and down a lot. They're probably exhausted by now. But it's good also to see Xi Jinping say that he agrees with President Trump that Iran may not have an atomic weapon. I'd like to see him follow through with that by saying that to the Iranians, any Ayatollahs who are still alive, that he can talk to, we're not going to provide you any weapons. You need to sit down with the President of the United States and come up with some sort of a peace agreement. And as I've said about 6 weeks ago on this very set, I think one of the things that could be very helpful is for the Chinese to send warships into the Strait of Hormuz along with the U.S., with our NATO allies, et cetera.
That wouldn't necessarily be a bad idea. Sending a few warships in there, that sounds like a pretty equitable idea to me, man. I mean, why not?
Open the Strait of Hormuz, get those ships out. I mean, those sailors, some of them they're practically starving. They've not had any food or any movement there in weeks. China gets most of its petroleum and gas through the Strait of Hormuz. It's very much in their national interest to do that. It'd be very helpful for them to come in and help us out with that effort.
Well, I just would note, I don't know if when China moves warships in, if they move them out real quickly, but we could discuss that if others at the table want to.
They might stay, which would be a problem, but hopefully they can move things along there.
That's the problem.
So here.
Well, that's what we don't want. We do not want the Chinese warships to stay.
Taylor, I've been wanting to ask you this question since the first hour when we were talking about Mythos, we were talking about deals. We got the NVIDIA chip deal. Now, I know it's for H200s, which are not the Cadillac chip. It's more the Buick chip, I guess. Okay. I don't.
Basically, so these are like the, these are the processors that are like the lower grade. They're not the newest. They're not the latest. They're not the most innovative ones. Which is good. We don't want to see. Here's the thing: is here's what China does once they get a hold of certain pieces of technology. They tend to reverse engineer that technology because they don't have the ability to innovate it themselves. It's true. It's true. Under communist regimes, the ability to innovate is basically non-existent because there's no incentive to innovate under a communist regime. There just never is. That's the problem.
Is that lower quality?
Yes, it's a little lower end. Buicks are fine. Okay, so we got the deal, but we had this conversation about, how should we feel about AI, and do we fear it? Is it helpful to us? And I don't know where we landed, but we were kind of talking about, well, it kind of depends who's deploying it and for what purposes. And I just wonder, do you love technology deal making with China that gives them chips to keep moving forward on AI?
I do.
I don't like it. I don't want China to become more advanced. You don't want a communist country to become more advanced. And here's the thing. They really can't because they don't know how to innovate. Because the reason they don't know how to innovate is because they're authoritarian and communist at the same time. That's even worse. They're basically the Borg. Because if you think about it, the Borg were a collective consciousness, but they were also very authoritative. It's very hard to negotiate with an entire collective. And that's the way I look at China. I look at China a lot like the way I see the Borg. You know what I mean? There's a very big correlation there, you could argue, in the way that they're collectivized. A collective authority is a scary one. A collective authority is a scary one.
Have this probably horrible, endless optimism that even if they get the H-200s and they try to do it, I just believe in our capitalist system that we can
Well, yeah. Well, here's the thing. China is trying to implement capitalism through a communist dictatorship. That's the problem. Baddies Monkey, or whatever your name is, Baddies T Monkey. Here's the problem. I think you completely missed the point of Star Trek. The Borg were actually a warning against collectivism and authoritarianism. They dressed that warning up in the form of cybernetics, which is actually kind of a brilliant way to do it, you know? It is scary to negotiate with the group. The way the Borg were originally written to not have a Borg queen. And that's what made them scary. The Borg were scary because they were a group consciousness that you just could not negotiate with. When you have a Borg queen, you can negotiate with the Borg queen, so that actually makes them less scary. So, I don't know. That's the way I see it.
innovate China, always. I mean, you heard Trump there. He brought in, I don't know, estimates from $12 to $15 trillion in market cap just by the 10 to 15 guys sitting behind him. That's half of our economy. Just like there. So if you're telling me that those guys, our best and brightest, can outsmart China, I guess that's where maybe I'm too of an optimist, where I think, yes, AI is powerful, and yes, you know, their version of the mythos could be horrible, but I guess I just believe that we can always.
Well, here's the thing. China has a more dystopian outlook of the future because of their collectivist nature versus America. In America, we tend to be a little more optimistic because, one, we have individual freedoms. Those matter. We have no cap on wealth. We have no social contract. The cards are in our favor. You know that.
Out innovate, and that we can always win and outmaneuver, because capitalism inevitably will move faster than communism. A couple things as well.
Exactly. Capitalism is about growth, whereas communism is about stagnation and regression. Communism is stagnation and regression. There's nothing fundamentally unique or even good about communism, straight up. You could argue that because of communism, communism is the one thing that mankind invented as far as the political system is concerned that has killed far more people than I believe any war could. I mean that a lot. It's the truth. I think it's one of the most I think communism is one of the most morally bankrupt ideas ever, including socialism. Anything collectivism that's implemented on a massive scale is morally bankrupt. And I think most people are aware of that. I hope. I don't know. Let's keep reacting to the video. Let's roll, man.
Just on sort of that AI, I mean, you talked about that, Brian, the H200s. We have to see if they actually want to follow through with that. You guys, TSMC thinks that this is going to be a $1.5 trillion market now by 2030.
Wow.
So if those companies want sort of access to the market, I think that's where we're going to have to do some deal making with China, because they're going to get their hands on it anyway. So why not let those American companies benefit from it? Or in TSMC's case, a Taiwanese company. Plus, Lauren Simonetti's latest email is coming through.
I read those at 2:15 a.m. after I check the 2-year
After
Treasury.
you check the bond yields. She's saying that it looks almost full. Iran's storage capacity looks tight. We're almost there.
Okay.
So as we're thinking about economic maneuvering with Iran, there's sort of another piece to the puzzle.
You want in on the debate about chips, technology, AI in China, deal making?
Well, I wonder, because has been reporting that that Iran and China were opening rail transportation more so.
Heard about that.
This was probably 10 days ago. So, okay, the oil storage is near full, but are they able to send oil on tankers?
Can be done.
Right, to China.
Hopefully
and
it's
parts
like California's
unknown.
train and it's not up yet.
No, the train line exists.
Oh, they know how to do them, and okay.
The train line, there's a rail line that exists. It just they're running more trips on said rail line. And this has been a focus of President Trump's policy, even starting in his first term. With Iran and Russia, Ukraine, our ability to manufacture cheap drones at volume is a weakness. That if you look at the gains, like Iran, what it was able to do and is able to do with drones, Ukraine still in the fight against Russia, Russia's having trouble defeating Ukraine because of drones.
Oh, wow.
Will we, the United States...
I'm actually surprised that Russia's having trouble defeating Ukraine. That just kind of blows my mind. Ukraine's tiny. Like, it should not be difficult. You think it shouldn't be, but who knows?
Ever be able to produce the volume of inexpensive drones that China can? And would we be able to defend ourselves or an entity, an island or a nation, against a drone storm when we don't have a solution against a country that can create and build drones at that capacity?
Yeah.
You could go drones if you want to on that one.
I mean, so wait, China develops drones at a cheap scale? Is that what I was hearing? Is that what I'm understanding? I'm trying to understand it. So basically, like, what she was saying is, like, yeah, the drones can be manufactured cheaply, but are they worth it, though? Are these, like, Temu-style drones we're talking? I think we're talking Temu-style drones, bro. We might be.
You could go oil and whether they're running out of tanker capacity, or we could talk a little bit more about this chip sale thing. And like, do we love that China's getting our stuff? Do we trust them that the deal making is going to work out as well for us as it might work out for them?
Can I hit a few of those by
all.
going to this?
Go through them.
But
Connect the
through
dots.
this other avenue of President Trump asking them to open up, right? They're
Yes.
a communist country. They have come a long way in, say, the last 30 years. I saw pictures this morning of our correspondents in Beijing and anchors that are reporting there.
Yeah,
And the
they
city
have.
looks
Sure.
completely different than it looked when I was there 30 years ago. So they have come a long way. But to maintain their control, they still will have to keep the fundamental pieces of their structure in place. So I think they're gonna open up as much as they can, but they're not going to do full opening, which actually would benefit their people and growth for the country. You know, they don't have gangbuster growth anymore, and actually they've sort of fallen apart upon hard times. And without innovation and without being able to have an industry that will allow them to grow, AI is doing that for us, they're going to be stuck. But I'm just sort of wondering how their system, like Xi Jinping wants to rule the world, okay? How are you going to do that under this structure? He's trying to change it as much as he can, but fundamentally, unless you would just completely flip the apple cart over, you just can't do it. So I just find that tension very interesting. You're nodding.
Yeah, sure. On the AI piece, there was a really good piece that the New York Post ran. They picked it up from The Spectator, and it was on how much China engages in theft of our AI technology. And it isn't just breaking in and grabbing some chips and running out the door. Very clever stuff. Apparently, they'll set up chatbots, like 1,000 of them. They'll go in and go ask questions and query a particular AI program, and somehow or another learn from the way it answers 1,000 different queries, how it operates, and so on. It's very, very subtle, very sophisticated.
I mean, that's an interesting way to do it, but you could still. Here's the problem, though. China still would need to understand the inner architecture and the inner programming of how this advanced AI works. They would have to understand fundamentally how to create the architecture for this artificial intelligence. And that I don't think they have the capability to do. Because remember, innovation goes against the core belief of the communist. Because it's a threat to the group. But I do want to, I think we're going to just kind of call it quits for the moment for the rest of, at least, maybe the rest of the day. I don't really know. But let's see. Give me just a moment. Yeah, what I'll do is I'll catch you guys later. I do want to thank you guys for tuning in. If you guys feel like sending us a gift, we're more than happy to get gifts and stuff like that. But I do want to thank you guys for coming in and watching the show. And thank you for the gifts, Annie. Thank you all for the gifts. I appreciate everybody for pitching into the show, keeping the show rolling, keeping the show running. And no, you guys are amazing, and you guys make everything just work out. So you guys rock. But for now, I'll catch you all later. Maybe I'll make a show later. I don't know, but I'm gonna be recording some short form vids and stuff, and do what we got to do. Catch you all later. Bye for now.